The scorching Texas sun beat down mercilessly on Sarah Miller as she huddled in the corner of the Comanche camp, her blouse torn, her face streaked with dust and dried tears. 3 weeks had passed since the raid that destroyed everything. 3 weeks since she watched her husband Thomas fall under a warrior's lance. 3 weeks of being dragged across the wilderness with 6-month-old Jacob clutched desperately to her chest. But what happened next would shock everyone, including Sarah herself. The camp bustled with life around her. Women tanning hides, children playing between teepees. But Sarah kept her eyes down. She'd learned quickly that eye contact invited trouble. Her captors had mostly ignored her, providing just enough food and water to keep her and Jacob alive. Nothing more, nothing less. Then Jacob began to whimper. His tiny face reddened as his cries grew more insistent. Sarah glanced nervously around the camp, knowing he was hungry but dreading what she had to do next. With trembling hands, she loosened her tattered blouse and positioned Jacob to nurse, trying to stay invisible. "Hush now, my sweet boy," she whispered. "We must be quiet." For one brief moment she closed her eyes and imagined their homestead, the rocking chair on the porch, the scent of Thomas's tobacco pipe. Then a shadow fell across her face. She looked up to see Chief Nakoa standing before her, his imposing figure blocking out the sun. Known as the Bear among his people, the chief's face was lined with 50 hard summers of wisdom and warfare. His dark eyes, usually stern and unyielding, now rested on the nursing child. Sarah's heart hammered. She curled around Jacob instinctively, certain they were about to face some new cruelty. The chief had been gone when she arrived, only returning yesterday from a hunting expedition. This was their first encounter. "Please," she whispered, though she knew he probably didn't understand. "Please don't hurt my baby." Chief Nakoa stood motionless, his expression unreadable. Then something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or memory. Without warning, he turned and barked orders at a young woman nearby. The girl, no more than 16, quickly approached with a water skin and a small bundle wrapped in hide. Sarah's eyes widened as the chief gestured for the girl to give these items to her. When Sarah hesitated, frozen in disbelief, he spoke in broken English that made her blood run cold and warm at the same time. "Child needs strength. Mother needs strength." The bundle contained dried meat and berries, a feast compared to the scraps she'd been surviving on. Sarah looked up at him, unable to process this act of kindness. "Why?" she managed to ask. The chief's weathered face remained impassive, but his voice carried an emotion that transcended their language barrier. "I too had wife, had son." He pointed to the horizon. "White soldiers come, no mercy." He touched his chest. "Nakoa knows heart pain of parent." With that, he walked away, leaving Sarah stunned and more confused than ever. The young woman who had brought the provisions lingered, her curious eyes on Jacob. "I am Kimmy," she said in hesitant English. "I help you." That night, for the first time since her capture, Sarah slept with a full stomach. As Jacob nestled against her, she wondered what tomorrow would bring in this strange world where compassion came from the most unexpected source. Outside her teepee, beneath the vast canopy of stars, Chief Nakoa sat alone by dying embers, his mind filled with memories of his own wife and son, lost to smallpox brought by white traders 7 winters ago. The sight of the white woman nursing her child had awakened something he thought died with them. But this was only the beginning of Sarah's transformation. Morning arrived with a deerskin dress placed at her teepee entrance, a gift from Kimmy. The young Comanche woman helped Sarah dress and showed her how to secure Jacob to her back using a cradle board. "Chief says you work," Kimmy explained. "Work good. Keeps mind from sadness." As days passed, Sarah's blistered hands learned the rhythm of Comanche life. She scraped hides until her fingers bled, gathered firewood, prepared meals under watchful eyes. Some women regarded her with hostility, others with indifference. But a few, like Kimmy, offered small kindnesses. And always, from a distance, she felt the chief's gaze following her and Jacob. 2 months into her captivity, autumn painted the plains golden. Sarah's skin had darkened under the relentless sun, her once soft hands now calloused from labor. Jacob, thriving despite everything, had begun to babble and reach for objects with curious fingers. The tribal women, initially distant, had gradually warmed to the chubby-cheeked infant who smiled at everyone. Then everything changed again. Sarah sat with women near the stream one morning, washing hides while Jacob played nearby on a blanket. Kimmy dangled a rabbit foot charm above him. "He grows strong," Kimmy remarked. "Like Comanche baby." "He's all I have left," Sarah replied softly. "Sometimes I think he's the only reason I'm still alive." Kimmy tilted her head. "You think of running?" The question startled Sarah. She glanced around nervously, but the other women were absorbed in their work. "I don't know where I'd go. The homestead is gone. My husband is gone. We're deep in Comanche territory now." She paused. "Jacob and I wouldn't survive alone." Kimmy nodded, satisfied. "Good. Some die in desert. Or worse." Her expression grew deadly serious. "Chief Nakoa has protected you. Others wanted to sell you to Mexican traders." A chill ran down Sarah's spine despite the warm day. She'd suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made her realize how precarious their situation truly was. Their conversation was interrupted by shouts from camp. The women quickly gathered their things, expressions tense. Kimmy grabbed Jacob and thrust him into Sarah's arms. "Riders coming. Go to your teepee. Stay quiet." Heart pounding, Sarah clutched Jacob and hurried back, keeping her head down as warriors mounted horses and women secured children and valuables. From her teepee entrance, she watched as about 20 riders approached, their painted faces and adorned horses marking them as warriors from another tribe. Chief Nakoa stood tall at the camp center, flanked by his most trusted warriors, his face an impassive mask as he raised a hand in greeting. The leader of the visiting party, a younger man with a scar running down his left face, dismounted and approached. Though Sarah couldn't understand their words, the tension in the air was suffocating. The visitor's gaze repeatedly swept the camp, eventually settling on Sarah's teepee. With a jolt of fear, she retreated deeper inside, pressing Jacob's face against her shoulder to keep him quiet. Hours passed as the two groups negotiated. From snippets Kimmy whispered later that evening, Sarah learned the visitors were Kiowa warriors seeking allies for a raid. They had also expressed interest in trading for the white woman and her child, offering horses and weapons in exchange. "What did the chief say?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with fear. Kimmy's expression was solemn. "He said you belong to the people now, not for trade." That night, unable to sleep, Sarah sat at her teepee entrance watching the visitors' campfires flickering at the camp's edge. Jacob slept peacefully beside her, unaware of how close danger had come. In the shadows beyond the central fire, she could make out Chief Nakoa's silhouette as he sat in council, his deep voice occasionally carrying on the night breeze. The next morning, Sarah emerged to find the visitors preparing to depart. The scarred Kiowa leader mounted his horse, his dark eyes finding her across camp. The intensity of his gaze made her shudder. There was something predatory in it, something that promised this wasn't over. As the Kiowa party rode away, Sarah felt Chief Nakoa's presence behind her. She turned to find him watching the departing riders with a grim expression. "They will return," he said simply. "Why did you refuse their offer?" Sarah found courage in daylight that she lacked in darkness. "Why keep us here?" The chief's weathered face revealed nothing, but his eyes, when they met hers, held a complexity that took her breath away. "The boy," he said, nodding toward Jacob. "He reminds me of my son. Same spirit. Same eyes that see everything." He paused, searching for words. "And you. Strong mother, like my wife was. Fight to keep child safe." It was the most he'd ever spoken to her. "Work now," he said, his voice returning to its usual gruff command. "Camp moves tomorrow. Winter comes soon. Need new hunting grounds." As he walked away, Sarah watched his retreating figure with new understanding. In his own way, through barriers of language and bitter history, Chief Nakoa was offering protection. Perhaps even a place among the people. It wasn't freedom, wasn't the life she'd planned with Thomas, but it was survival. And for Jacob's sake, survival had to be enough. That afternoon, as Sarah helped women prepare for the journey, Kimmy worked alongside her with unusual quietness. "What troubles you?" Sarah finally asked. Kimmy glanced around before responding in a low voice. "Those Kiowa warriors, bad men. Chief knows this. That is why we moved camp earlier than planned, to be farther from their territory." Sarah's hands stilled. "Do you think they'll really come back for us?" Kimmy nodded grimly. "The one with the scar, he is called Tabe. He collects white captives to sell in Mexico, pays many gold coins for them there." She touched Sarah's arm with unexpected gentleness. "Stay close to camp, always." But staying close to camp wouldn't be enough to protect them from what was coming. The Comanche camp had been in their winter grounds for nearly 2 months, nestled in a protected valley where trees offered shelter from biting north winds. December brought freezing temperatures that made Sarah grateful for the buffalo robes Kimmy had helped her prepare. Jacob, now 10 months old, had taken his first tentative steps just days ago, toddling between Sarah and Kimmy with delighted squeals that drew smiles even from the most stoic warriors. Sarah had learned much of the Comanche language, though she still struggled with pronunciation. Her days fell into rhythm, gathering firewood, preparing meals, tanning hides, tending to Jacob. Some nights the tribe gathered around the central fire for storytelling, and though she remained at the periphery, Sarah found herself drawn to these tales, translated in whispers by Kimmy. On this particular evening, snow fell in gentle flakes. Chief Nakoa had returned from a hunting expedition with fresh meat. As was becoming custom, he stopped by Sarah's teepee, nodding in approval as he watched Jacob playing with a wooden horse a tribal elder had carved. "He grows strong," the chief observed, the same words he spoke each visit. "Good Comanche legs now." "Thank you for the meat," Sarah replied, having learned that gratitude was important in Comanche culture. "We are grateful for your providing." A ghost of a smile touched the chief's weathered face, a rare sight that transformed his stern features. Winter hard time, but people strong together. He lingered longer than usual, watching Jacob play. The boy, noticing the chief's attention, picked up his wooden horse and boldly approached, offering it to Nakoa with babbled invitation to join his game. The chief's expression softened as he crouched to the child's level, accepting the toy with ceremonial gravity. "He knows no fear," Nakoa remarked, moving the horse in circles to Jacob's delight. "Good for warrior." Sarah tensed at these words. The idea of her son becoming a Comanche warrior both terrified and fascinated her. Would they truly raise him as one of their own? "Will we stay with the people always?" she asked, the question that had lingered unspoken for months. The chief's dark eyes met hers, inscrutable. "Where else would you go? White settlements grow, but still far. Dangerous journey for woman and child alone." He paused. "Here you are protected. Jacob learns ways of the people." Before Sarah could respond, shouts from the camp's perimeter interrupted their conversation. Chief Nakoa was on his feet instantly, his hand moving to the knife at his belt as he strode from the teepee. Sarah quickly gathered Jacob into her arms, heart racing as commotion outside grew louder. "Stay inside," Kimmy ordered, appearing suddenly at the entrance, her face tight with fear. "Kiowa raiders, many of them." Sarah clutched Jacob tighter, remembering the scarred face of Tabe and his predatory interest months ago. "Are they here for us?" Kimmy nodded grimly. "They come in peace talk, but bring too many warriors. Chief suspects trap." She pressed a small bone-handled knife into Sarah's palm. "Hide this. Use if you must." The weight of the blade felt both foreign and necessary. Sarah tucked it into her dress folds, then gathered Jacob's belongings and food, preparing for whatever might come. Outside, she heard Chief Nakoa's authoritative voice addressing visitors, tone firm but diplomatic. Hours passed in tense waiting. Jacob, sensing his mother's fear, remained unusually quiet, clinging to her as darkness fell. Sarah kept her fire burning low, straining to hear negotiations at Camp Center. Occasionally Kimmy would slip in with updates. The Kiowa claimed to seek only trade and alliance, but their warriors outnumbered the Comanche men present. Many were still away on hunting expeditions. Chief stalls for time, Kimmy whispered on her third visit. Hope's hunting party returns before Kiowa make move. Shortly after midnight, the tension finally broke. A single war cry shattered the pretense of peace, followed by sounds of fighting erupting throughout camp. Sarah doused her fire completely and retreated to the farthest corner of her teepee, singing softly to Jacob to mask the battle sounds outside. Suddenly, the teepee flap thrust aside and a silhouette appeared. Not Kimmy or Chief Nakoa, but a Kiowa warrior, his face painted for war. Sarah reached for the knife Kimmy had given her, but before she could grasp it, another figure burst in behind the intruder. In dim light filtering through teepee walls, Sarah recognized Chief Nakoa, blood streaming from a gash on his shoulder. The two men clashed in near silence, the deadly struggle confined to the small space. Sarah curled protectively around Jacob, pressing his face against her shoulder to shield him from the violence. There was a grunt, a final desperate struggle, and then stillness as one body slumped to the ground. "Come," Chief Nakoa's voice commanded, and Sarah could have wept with relief. No time. Must leave now. Outside, the camp was chaos. Several teepees burned, flames casting macabre shadows across scenes of battle. Nakoa led Sarah to where two horses waited, already loaded with minimal supplies. "Where's Kimmy?" Sarah asked desperately, looking around for the young woman who'd become her closest friend. "Helping others escape," the chief replied tersely. "She joins us at meeting place. Now go." With practiced ease, despite his injury, he lifted Sarah and Jacob onto one horse, then mounted the other. They rode hard into darkness, away from the burning camp and sounds of conflict. Jacob, strapped securely to Sarah's chest, whimpered softly, but didn't cry out, as though he too understood the need for silence. They rode through the night, freezing air burning Sarah's lungs and numbing her face. Chief Nakoa set a punishing pace, stopping only once to bind his wounded shoulder with strips torn from his shirt. Dawn was breaking when they finally reached a small cave tucked into a rocky hillside, the meeting place where scattered tribe members would regroup. Several women and children were already there, huddled around a small smokeless fire. Among them was Kimmy, her face smudged with soot, but otherwise unharmed. She rushed to Sarah, helping her dismount and taking Jacob while Sarah's stiff limbs adjusted to standing again. "They came for you," Kimmy said bluntly, her voice tight with anger. "Tabe told Chief Nakoa that if he gave you and Jacob to them, they would leave in peace. When Chief refused, they attacked." Sarah looked at the chief, who was now conferring with the few warriors who'd made it to the meeting place. "He risked everyone for us. Why?" Kimmy's expression softened slightly. "Not just for you. Chief Nakoa knows Tabe's word means nothing. Give one captive, he demands another, then another. Today stand firm, or tomorrow bend until breaking." She bounced Jacob gently. "And Chief sees his lost family in you and boy. This gives him strength to fight." As the day wore on, more survivors trickled into the cave. Women, children, a few warriors, many bearing injuries. By nightfall, it became clear their numbers were greatly diminished. The winter camp was lost, along with most food stores and many horses. Worse, several tribe members were unaccounted for, including 3 children. Chief Nakoa's face was grim as he addressed the gathered survivors. Through Kimmy's translation, Sarah learned they would travel north to join another Comanche band led by Nakoa's brother. But first, they would track the Kiowa and attempt to rescue any captives. "He asks if you still have knife," Kimmy whispered to Sarah. "Says you may need it in days ahead." Sarah felt for the bone handle still hidden in her dress. "Yes. Tell him I'm ready to fight if I must." Her gaze fell on Jacob, now sleeping peacefully. "For my son. I'll do whatever is necessary." What Sarah didn't know was that her words would be tested far sooner than she imagined. That night, as exhausted survivors slept in shifts, Sarah found herself sitting beside Chief Nakoa at the cave mouth, both keeping watch over the moonlit plains below. His shoulder had been properly bandaged, but she could tell from his stiff posture he was in considerable pain. "Thank you," she said simply, knowing he would understand all she meant by those 2 words. The chief nodded once, eyes never leaving the horizon. Tabe will hunt us, he said after long silence. Hunt you. Why? What makes us so valuable to him? White woman with blue eyes, yellow hair, rare. Mexican haciendas pay many horses, much gold. He glanced at her. Child too. Mexican families buy white children, raise as own. The thought of Jacob being sold away, raised by strangers in a foreign land, sent ice through Sarah's veins. I won't let that happen, she vowed, hand instinctively moving to the knife at her waist. Chief Nakoa studied her with newfound respect. You have warrior heart now, not same woman who came to camp crying. It was true, Sarah realized. The woman who'd been captured from the homestead, grief-stricken, terrified, helpless, was gone. In her place stood someone harder, someone who'd learned to survive in a world where mercy was rare and strength was everything. The people have taught me, she acknowledged. You have taught me. For a brief moment, something like tenderness flickered in the chief's eyes. Then he turned back to vigilant watch. Tomorrow we hunt Kiowa, find stolen children, then go north to my brother's camp. He paused, then added, You and Jacob come with us. Become truly people now. It wasn't a question, but a statement, an offering of belonging Sarah had never expected to receive. The pale light of dawn revealed the small band preparing for the day's journey. Women packed what few supplies remained, while warriors checked weapons and tended horses. Sarah, who'd slept fitfully with Jacob nestled against her, joined Kimmy in distributing the last dried meat among children. Eat, Sarah encouraged a small girl no more than 4, whose mother hadn't survived the raid. The child hadn't spoken since being found wandering the destroyed camp, eyes vacant with shock. You need strength for the journey. Chief Nakoa approached, his injured shoulder held at a stiff angle. We leave soon. Scouts found Kiowa Trail. They move slow with captives and stolen horses. How many of our people did they take? Sarah asked, adjusting Jacob on her hip. 3 children, 2 young women. His jaw tightened. 1 elder. Sarah thought of the kind-faced old man who'd carved Jacob's wooden horse, who taught her to identify medicinal plants during autumn migration. Whitebird? She asked, using the Comanche name she'd learned. The chief nodded grimly. They take him for his knowledge of southern territories, force him to guide them. Will we catch them? The question came from Kimmy. Yes. There was deadly certainty in Chief Nakoa's voice. Today, before sunset. He turned to Sarah. You stay with women and children when we attack. Protect them if Kiowa circle back. Sarah straightened, meeting his gaze directly. I can help. I'm a good shot with a rifle. Surprise flickered across the chief's face. You know rifle? My husband taught me. We lived on the frontier. I had to know how to defend our homestead when he was away. The memory of Thomas showing her how to load and aim brought brief grief, quickly pushed aside. If you have a spare weapon, I can use it. Chief Nakoa considered her for a long moment, then nodded. You ride with Kimmy. Stay back, but be ready if needed. Within the hour, they were moving across winter plains, following the clear trail left by the Kiowa party. The Comanche moved with practiced stealth, using terrain to mask their approach. By mid-afternoon, scouts returned, reporting they'd located the Kiowa camp in a sheltered ravine just ahead. Chief Nakoa gathered his warriors, only 8 men, plus Sarah and 3 other women who'd insisted on joining the rescue party. The rest remained behind with children in a well-hidden copse of trees. Jacob clung to Sarah as she prepared to leave him in the care of an older woman named Taza. Be good, my brave boy, she whispered, kissing his forehead. Mama will return soon. He will be safe, Taza promised in halting English. Go. Bring our children home. Sarah mounted behind Kimmy, the unfamiliar weight of a rifle across her back. Chief Nakoa outlined his plan. Simple, but relying on surprise. The Kiowa, confident in their victory and the distance they'd put between themselves and any surviving Comanche, had grown careless. As they approached the ravine, Sarah's heart pounded. Chief Nakoa split their small force into 2 groups that would attack from different directions, creating the illusion of a larger rescue party. Sarah and Kimmy positioned themselves on a ridge overlooking the camp where they could provide covering fire if needed. From their vantage point, Sarah could see the captives, children tied together near a central fire, young women working under guard, and Whitebird sitting apart, hands bound but back straight, with dignity, even in captivity. "There," Kimmy whispered, pointing to a figure moving among Kiowa warriors. "Tabe." Sarah recognized the scarred face of the Kiowa leader as he inspected a string of Comanche horses. Her fingers tightened on the rifle. This was the man who'd destroyed their camp, who'd intended to sell her and Jacob, who'd torn children from their mothers. The attack came with the suddenness of a prairie thunderstorm. Chief Nakoa's war cry split the air as his warriors charged from opposite sides of the ravine. The Kiowa, caught unprepared, scrambled for weapons. In the chaos, Sarah saw one of the captive women seize her chance, untying the children and pulling them toward cover. "Now!" Kimmy urged, raising her own weapon. Sarah took careful aim at a Kiowa warrior pursuing the escaping captives. She inhaled, steadied her hands as Thomas had taught her, and squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked against her shoulder, and through the smoke she saw the warrior fall. Below, the battle raged with fierce intensity. Though outnumbered, the Comanche fought with desperate courage of those defending their own. Sarah reloaded and fired again, then again, each shot finding its mark. Kimmy moved down the ridge to help freed captives reach safety, leaving Sarah to provide covering fire from above. Through swirling dust and confusion, Sarah spotted Chief Nakoa locked in combat with Tabe, their knives flashing in the late afternoon sun. Despite his injured shoulder, the chief fought with remarkable strength, driven by months of accumulated rage and determination to protect what remained of his tribe. A movement to her left caught Sarah's attention. A Kiowa warrior had spotted her position and was climbing toward her, weapon raised. She swung her rifle around, but it clicked empty. With no time to reload, she dropped the gun and drew Kimmy's bone-handled knife from her belt, bracing for attack. The warrior lunged with a short spear. Sarah dodged, the weapon grazing her arm instead of piercing her chest. She slashed with the knife, catching him across the forearm. They grappled at the ridge edge, both aware that a fall meant certain death on rocks below. Drawing on strength she didn't know she possessed, Sarah drove her knee upward into the warrior's body, then pushed with all her might as he doubled over. He teetered at the edge for one heart-stopping moment before plummeting backward, with a cry swallowed by battle sounds below. Breathing hard, Sarah retrieved her rifle and quickly reloaded. When she looked back at camp, she saw the tide had turned. Several Kiowa warriors lay motionless. Others were fleeing on horseback, pursued by Comanche riders. In the camp center, Chief Nakoa stood over the fallen form of Tabe, whose scarred face was now still in death. By sunset, it was over. The captives had been rescued, though Whitebird had sustained injuries requiring careful tending. They'd recovered most stolen horses and acquired additional mounts from the defeated Kiowa, along with much-needed weapons and supplies. Sarah found Chief Nakoa sitting alone outside the captured Kiowa camp, watching the sun sink below the horizon. Blood seeped through a fresh bandage on his arm, a new wound to accompany the one on his shoulder. "The children are asking for you," she said softly, sitting beside him. "They call you the bear who protects." A faint smile touched his lips. "And you? What do they call the blue-eyed woman who shoots like a warrior?" "Brave mother, I think. My Comanche isn't good enough to be sure." She paused, looking out at darkening plains. "What happens now?" "We travel north," he replied. "My brother's band will welcome us. We rebuild there." He turned to face her fully. "You fought well today, saved many lives. As did you." Sarah hesitated, then asked the question growing in her mind since the Kiowa raid. "When we reach your brother's camp, will Jacob and I still be captives?" Chief Nakoa considered this, his dark eyes reflecting the last crimson rays of the setting sun. "No," he said finally. "Not captives. Not after today." He touched the knife at his belt, the weapon that had ended Tabe's threat forever. "You fought for the people, bled for the people. You are people now." "And if someday I wish to return to my own kind?" The question was hypothetical. Sarah knew her old life was gone, that the homestead she'd shared with Thomas was now only ashes in memory. "Roads between our worlds exist," the chief said slowly. "Trading posts where whites and Indians meet. When Jacob is older, if that is your wish." He left the thought unfinished, but the meaning was clear. She would not be held against her will forever. They sat in companionable silence as the first stars appeared above them. In the distance, Sarah could hear Jacob's delighted laughter as Kimmy and other women fussed over him. The sound lightened her heart after the violence of the day. "We should return to the others," Chief Nakoa said eventually, rising to his feet with the stiffness of a man carrying multiple wounds. "Long journey begins tomorrow." Sarah stood beside him, suddenly aware of how far she'd come from the terrified captive who'd huddled in the corner of a Comanche camp nearly 6 months ago. The wilderness that had once seemed so alien and hostile now felt familiar. The people she'd feared were now her protectors, perhaps even her family. As they walked back to camp together, Sarah realized life had taken her down a path she could never have imagined. There would be hardships ahead: the northern journey through winter, integration into a new band, raising her son between two worlds. But she faced these challenges with strength born of survival, and the knowledge that in the most unexpected place, she'd found not just safety, but belonging. That night, with Jacob sleeping peacefully beside her, and the stars of Texas spreading like a blanket above their reclaimed camp, Sarah thought of Chief Nakoa's words. "You are people now. Not white, not Comanche, but something new. A bridge between worlds in a land where such bridges were rare and precious." And perhaps, she reflected as sleep finally claimed her, that was exactly what this wild frontier needed most. The next morning, as they prepared for the journey north, Sarah watched Chief Nakoa instructing warriors on the best formation for protecting their small band. Jacob toddled toward the chief, arms outstretched in the universal gesture of a child wanting to be lifted. Without hesitation, Nakoa scooped him up, settling the boy on his hip as naturally as if he were his own son. Seeing them together, the weathered Comanche chief and her fair-haired child, Sarah felt a surge of hope for their future. In a world divided by bloodshed and misunderstanding, they'd found common ground in the most basic human connection: the love of a parent for a child, and the determination to protect the innocent at any cost. As the rising sun bathed the plains in golden light, the survivors of Chief Nakoa's band began their journey toward a new beginning, moving forward together, their shared experiences forging bonds stronger than the circumstances that had brought them together. If you enjoyed this incredible story of survival, compassion, and unexpected family bonds on the Texas frontier, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share in the comments where you're watching from and what part of Sarah's journey moved you most. This story proves that humanity can shine through even in the darkest circumstances. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.